I woke to the scent of my mother's perfume lingering in my bedroom, mixed with something metallic and sharp. My hand instinctively reached for my hair, the way it had every morning for 23 years, expecting to feel the familiar weight of dark waves cascading past my shoulders. Instead, my fingers met jagged ends barely brushing my ears. The scream that tore from my throat wasn't human. It was primal, raw, the sound of something breaking inside me that could never be repaired. On my nightstand, beside the antique scissors my grandmother had given my mother on her wedding day, lay a note in my mother's perfect cursive: "Don't forget this is Lily's day, not yours. My name is Emily Carter. And this is the story of how my parents tried to dim my light so my sister could shine brighter, and how I finally learned to burn too bright for them to ever touch again." The mirror confirmed what my trembling hands already knew. My hair, which had taken years to grow past my waist, now hung in uneven chunks around my face. Some parts were shorter than others, as if whoever had done this, and I knew exactly who, had been in a hurry. Or perhaps had enjoyed the destruction too much to be precise. Strands of my former glory lay scattered across my white pillowcase like casualties of war. I touched the shortest piece near my temple, barely 2 inches long. My mother had always been meticulous about everything. The garden parties with their color-coordinated centerpieces, the family Christmas cards where we all wore matching sweaters. Even the way she arranged fruit in the bowl had to be perfect. But this was violence disguised as necessity. The house was quiet in that particular way it got when my parents were pretending nothing had happened. I could hear the coffee maker gurgling downstairs, the morning news playing at exactly the volume my father preferred. Normal sounds for a normal Saturday morning, except nothing about this was normal. I gathered the hair from my pillow, letting the strands slip through my fingers. Some were over 2 feet long. I'd been growing it since high school, through college, through every family dinner where my mother commented that Lily's pixie cut was so much more sophisticated, and every holiday where my father mentioned how my long hair made me look like one of those Instagram girls. Those Instagram girls. As if being beautiful was a crime in our family. As if taking care of myself, enjoying fashion, wearing makeup that enhanced rather than hid my features was somehow a betrayal of the Carter family values. The truth was simpler and uglier. I wasn't supposed to outshine Lily. I never had been. From the moment my sister was born when I was 4, the rules were established. Lily was the baby, the miracle child my parents had tried for years to conceive after having me. I was the accident, the teenage mistake that forced them to get married before they were ready. Lily was planned, prayed for, perfect. I was the rough draft before the masterpiece. By the time I could walk steadily in my hand-me-down shoes, Lily was taking ballet in custom-fitted slippers. When I asked to join soccer in middle school, my parents said sports weren't ladylike. When Lily wanted to try horseback riding, they bought her a pony. I learned early that love in the Carter household was not equally distributed. It was rationed, with Lily receiving the lion's share while I survived on scraps. But I adapted. I studied hard, worked part-time jobs from the moment I turned 16, saved every penny. When Lily went to the private university, my parents' money bought her way into. I attended state school on scholarships and student loans I'm still paying off. And through it all, I grew my hair. It became my armor, my one indulgence that cost nothing but patience. Men noticed it, women complimented it, and strangers stopped me on the street to ask about my hair care routine. It was the one thing about me my parents couldn't diminish or give to Lily. Until now. I stumbled to the bathroom, hoping somehow the harsh fluorescent lights would reveal this as a nightmare. Instead, they only made it worse. The hack job was even more visible here, chunks missing from the back, the left side considerably shorter than the right. They'd cut it while I slept, probably taking turns holding the scissors while the other held my head still. The thought of their hands on me while I was vulnerable, trusting, unconscious, made me want to vomit. My phone buzzed, a text from Lily. "Mom says you're being dramatic. Just wear a wig." A wig. To my only sister's wedding, because my own parents had assaulted me in my sleep. The wedding. Oh God, the wedding was today. Lily's wedding to Marcus Chen, the investment banker with the Yale degree and the family compound in the Hamptons. The wedding my parents had spent $50,000 on, not counting Lily's dress, which cost more than my car. The wedding where I was supposed to stand as maid of honor, smiling beside my sister while she married into the kind of wealth my parents had always craved. I was supposed to wear the lavender dress Lily had chosen specifically because she said it would tone down my complexion. My hair was supposed to be in an updo that the hairstylist had practiced twice. An elegant twist that would have showcased the length while keeping it controlled, appropriate, invisible. Now I understood. They'd seen me at the rehearsal dinner last night. I'd worn the black cocktail dress I'd saved 3 months to buy, the one that hugged every curve I'd earned through years of yoga and careful eating while Lily complained about her metabolism. I'd left my hair down, freshly blown out, catching the light every time I moved. Marcus's groomsmen had stared. His cousin had asked for my number. Even Marcus himself had complimented my hair, saying I looked like a mermaid. That must have been the final straw. Lily's face had gone tight the way it did when she was little, and I got a birthday present she wanted. My mother had whispered furiously to my father during dessert, and I, stupid, trusting fool that I was, had gone home to my childhood bedroom to sleep, thinking tomorrow would be beautiful. I called the only person who would understand, Emily. Why are you calling so early? Shouldn't you be getting ready? Zoe, they cut my hair. Silence. Then, what do you mean they cut your hair? My parents. While I slept. It's gone. All of it. I'm coming over. The wedding. Fuck the wedding, I'm coming over now. Zoe Martinez had been my lifeline since we'd met at our soul-crushing marketing job 5 years ago. She was the first person in my life who'd seen how my family treated me and named it for what it was. Abuse. Not the kind that left bruises, but the kind that slowly eroded your sense of self until you believed you deserved to be less than. She arrived in 20 minutes, still in her pajamas, carrying a bag from the pharmacy and a look that could have melted steel. Let me see. I pulled off the hat I'd thrown on, and her intake of breath told me everything. Those bastards. Those absolute bastards. She walked around me, examining the damage. We're calling the police. We can't. It's Lily's wedding day. Emily, they assaulted you. They'll say I asked them to. They'll say I was stressed about the wedding and wanted a change. You know how they are. She did know. She'd witnessed enough family dinners where my achievements were dismissed and Lily's failures were reframed as victories. She'd held me through enough crying sessions after holidays where my parents gave Lily jewelry and handed me gift cards with the wrong amount loaded on them. Okay, she said finally. Then we do this different. How many of those recordings do you still have? My heart skipped. The recordings. 2 years ago, after a particularly brutal Christmas where my mother had spent an hour explaining to the extended family why Lily deserved the family heirloom ring, even though it traditionally went to the eldest daughter. I'd started recording our conversations. Not all of them, just the worst ones. The ones where the mask slipped and the cruel words flowed like wine. Maybe a dozen. Perfect. And I assume your parents don't know. No. Even better. Zoe pulled out her phone. I'm calling Marcus. What? No. Not Marcus Chen, Marcus Rodriguez from college. Remember, he's a hairstylist now at that boutique salon downtown. I watched her pace my childhood bedroom, negotiating with someone she hadn't spoken to in years, calling in favors and promises. This was Zoe, fierce, protective, unafraid of conflict in a way I'd never learned to be. He can see you in an hour, she announced. He says he can fix it, not the length, obviously, but he can make you look like the goddess you are instead of a victim. A goddess, not a victim. The words rattled around my empty chest. What's the point? They win either way. If I show up looking terrible, they'll pity me, but blame me for not handling it better. If I look good, Lily will still be the bride, still be the favorite, still be... Stop. Zoe grabbed my shoulders, forced me to meet her eyes. This isn't about them winning. This is about you deciding who you want to be. Do you want to be the girl who shows up with butchered hair and a fake smile? Or do you want to be the woman who refuses to let them dim your light? I don't know how to be that woman. Then let's figure it out together, starting with your hair. Marcus Rodriguez worked magic. What emerged from his salon chair wasn't the Emily who'd walked in, destroyed, diminished, defeated. The woman in the mirror had a razor-sharp bob that made her cheekbones look like they could cut glass. The asymmetry my parents had created through cruelty. Marcus had transformed into high fashion. One side tucked behind my ear to show off the dramatic angle, the other falling in a sleek curtain that moved like liquid. You look dangerous, Zoe breathed, like an assassin in a spy movie. I did look dangerous. For the first time in my life, my outside matched what was building inside sharp, controlled fury. Now, Marcus said, spinning the chair so I faced him. Tell me who did this to you so I can destroy them. My parents. They didn't want me to look too pretty at my sister's wedding. His face went through several expressions before landing on rage. Your parents. Your actual parents. The very same. And you're still going to this wedding. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I could skip it, claim illness, disappear into the city, and let them explain my absence however they wanted. It would be easier, safer. The Emily thing to do. But I was done being Emily the doormat, Emily the afterthought, Emily the rough draft. Oh, I'm going, I said. And I'm going to give a speech they'll never forget. The plan formed on the drive back to my apartment. Zoe helped me refine it while I got dressed. Not in the lavender monstrosity Lily had chosen that went straight in the trash. Instead, I pulled out the dress I'd bought on a whim and hidden in the back of my closet black silk, backless, with a slit that climbed dangerously high, the dress of a woman who knew her worth. You'll need evidence, Zoe said, transferring the audio files from my phone to hers as backup. Pick the worst ones. I scrolled through my secret folder. There were so many to choose from. My mother's voice, wine-slurred from last Thanksgiving. It's exhausting having such a pretty daughter. Lily shouldn't have to compete with that at her own events. My father, just 2 months ago when I'd gotten promoted. Don't let it go to your head. Lily's the one with real potential. You're just adequate. My mother again, to her sister, not knowing I was recording from the next room. If Emily would just gain some weight and stop wearing makeup, maybe men would notice Lily more. It's not fair to Lily, having a sister who looks like that. And the worst one, from just last week during wedding planning. Maybe we should cut Emily's hair before the wedding, just to even things out. Lily deserves to be the prettiest one there. And with Emily's hair like that, well, sometimes we have to make hard choices for our children. I selected 3 clips and sent them to the DJ's email with specific instructions. He owed me a favor from when I'd helped design his website for free. Time to collect. The wedding venue was a converted mansion on the Hudson, all white columns and crystal chandeliers. I arrived fashionably late, missing the ceremony entirely but perfectly timed for the cocktail hour. The first person I saw was Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister, who nearly dropped her champagne. Emily, oh my God, your hair. What happened? I smiled, the new smile I'd practiced in the mirror, sharp, knowing, dangerous. Just a little pre-wedding surprise from Mom and Dad. Her face went through a fascinating journey of emotions. What? Oh, you know how they are, always looking out for Lily's best interests. I left her gaping and made my way through the crowd. The reactions were immediate and visceral. Cousins who'd known me since childhood did double takes. Lily's college friends whispered behind manicured hands. Marcus's groomsmen, the ones who'd flirted with my long hair just yesterday, now looked at me with something closer to awe than appreciation. I was a different creature now. Not the pretty wallflower they could safely ignore, but something sharper, more dangerous. Something that demanded attention. My parents found me at the bar. Emily. My mother's voice could have frozen champagne. What have you done? Fixed what you broke, I said, not turning around. Vodka martini, please, dirty. You look ridiculous, my father hissed. Like one of those punk rock people. This is your sister's wedding, not a nightclub. I finally turned, letting them see the full effect. The dress, the hair, the makeup I'd applied with surgical precision. The woman they'd tried to diminish standing taller than ever. You cut my hair while I slept, I said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Did you think I'd curl up and die, wear a wig, and pretend everything was fine? Keep your voice down, my mother warned. People are staring. Good. Let them stare. Let them see what you do to the daughter you never wanted. My father's face went purple. You ungrateful. Richard. My mother's hand on his arm was a leash. Not here. We'll discuss this later. No, I said. We'll discuss it now. In about 20 minutes, actually, when I give my maid of honor speech. The color drained from my mother's carefully made-up face. You wouldn't dare. Wouldn't I? I picked up my martini, took a sip. Guess you'll have to wait and see. I walked away before they could respond, my heels clicking on marble like a countdown to detonation. Lily found me during the transition to the reception hall. She looked perfect, of course. The dress was couture, the veil was her something borrowed from our grandmother. The smile was practiced from years of being the golden child. But her eyes when she saw me were pure fury. What the hell did you do to your hair? Ask Mom and Dad, they're the artists. You're trying to ruin my wedding. No, Lily, I'm just existing. If that ruins your wedding, maybe you should examine why. You've always been jealous of me. The words hung between us like a challenge. For years, I would have denied it. Assured her that I loved her. That I only wanted her happiness. But I was done lying to make other people comfortable. You're right, I said. I have been jealous. Jealous that you got parents who loved you. Jealous that you never had to work for anything. Jealous that you could be mediocre and still be praised while I had to be perfect, just to be tolerated. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. She'd never heard me speak to her like this. None of them had. But you know what I'm not jealous of, I continued. This performance. Marrying a man you've known for 8 months because he has the right pedigree. Spending Mom and Dad's money on a party to impress people who don't actually care about you. Having a sister you've treated like furniture suddenly realize she doesn't have to be your footstool anymore. You're drunk. I've had 1 sip of a martini. I'm the soberest I've ever been. Mom said you were being dramatic about the hair. That you probably cut it yourself for attention. Did she? How interesting. Let's see what else Mom says. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to one of the recordings. My mother's voice filled the space between us. Lily's the real beauty in the family. Emily's just flashy. There's a difference. Lily's face went white under her professionally applied makeup. You recorded us. Insurance policy. Started after that Christmas where you got Grandma's ring that was supposed to be mine. Remember Mom said it would look better on your delicate fingers. That's illegal. So is assault. But here we are. The wedding coordinator appeared, ushering us toward the reception. The bridal party was being announced. Time for the show to begin. The reception hall was a fairy tale in white and gold. 300 guests seated at round tables, each centerpiece worth more than my monthly rent. I was seated at the head table, of course, right where everyone could see me. My parents had probably planned it that way. Back when they assumed I'd be the appropriately invisible sister, blending into the background, they hadn't counted on the dress, or the hair, or the way I'd learned to wear righteous anger like designer armor. The speeches began after the salad course. The best man went first, a safe collection of college anecdotes and wishes for happiness. Then the microphone was passed to me. I stood slowly, letting the dress move with me, letting the light catch the severe angles of my new hair. The room quieted, even the waitstaff paused. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily, Lily's sister. Her older sister, though you might not know that from how our family operates. Nervous laughter from the crowd. My parents sat frozen at their table, my mother's knuckles white around her champagne flute. I want to tell you all a story about sisterhood, about family, about the lengths people will go to maintain their preferred narrative. I paused, made eye contact with the DJ. He nodded slightly. This morning, I woke up to find that someone had cut my hair while I slept. The hair I'd been growing since high school, that reached past my waist. Gone. Cut with these. I reached into my clutch and pulled out my grandmother's scissors, holding them up so they caught the light. Gasps rippled through the room. Now, you might wonder who would do such a thing. A jealous ex? A deranged stranger? No, it was my parents. The same people sitting right there, smiling like they didn't assault their daughter in her sleep because they thought she might outshine the bride. The silence was absolute. 300 people holding their breath. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from them directly. I nodded to the DJ. The first recording began to play through the sound system. My mother's voice, crystal clear. If Emily would just gain some weight and stop wearing makeup, maybe men would notice Lily more. It's not fair to Lily, having a sister who looks like that. The second recording, maybe we should cut Emily's hair before the wedding. Just to even things out. Lily deserves to be the prettiest one there. And with Emily's hair like that, well, sometimes we have to make hard choices for our children. The third, my father this time. Don't let it go to your head. Lily's the one with real potential. You're just adequate. The room erupted. Voices raised in shock, chairs scraping as people turned to stare at my parents. My mother had gone gray beneath her foundation. My father was standing, shouting something about lies and manipulation, but no one was listening to him. I raised the microphone again, and silence fell. I've spent 23 years being the rough draft in this family, the mistake that came before the masterpiece. I've watched them pour their love and money and dreams into Lily while treating me like an inconvenience they had to tolerate. Lily was crying now, her mascara running in designer streams down her cheeks. Marcus looked stunned, his hand frozen halfway to comfort her. But here's the thing about rough drafts, I continued. They're often more honest than the final version. Less polished, maybe, but real. And I'm done pretending to be anything other than what I am. I set the microphone down on the table, picked up my clutch. Lily, I hope your marriage is everything our parents wasn't. Marcus, good luck. You'll need it. And Mom. Dad. I looked directly at them. These people who had given me life and then tried to make me smaller every day since. You can keep the hair. Consider it my wedding gift, the last piece of me you'll ever touch. I walked out of that reception hall like I was walking on water. The crowd parted, some reaching out as if to stop me, others pulling back as if I might burn them. Behind me, chaos erupted, voices shouting, accusations flying. The perfect wedding destroyed by an ugly truth. The valet brought my car around. I'd parked it myself earlier, not trusting anyone else with my exit strategy. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. The woman looking back wasn't pretty in the way I'd always tried to be. She was something better, something harder, something free. My phone exploded with texts and calls. I turned it off and kept driving. There would be time for damage control later, or maybe there wouldn't. Maybe this was the kind of bridge that was meant to burn. I ended up at Zoe's apartment, where she was waiting with wine and tissues I didn't need. How do you feel? She asked. I thought about it, really examined the hollow space where my family used to live in my chest. Empty, I said finally. But not in a bad way. Like I've been carrying rocks in my pockets my whole life and finally remembered I could just let them go. They'll never forgive you. Good. I don't want their forgiveness. I want their absence. We drank wine and ordered Thai food and didn't talk about what came next. There would be time for that tomorrow, or next week, or never. For now, it was enough to sit in the silence of a friendship that didn't demand I be smaller to deserve love. Around midnight. I turned my phone back on. 67 missed calls, hundreds of texts. I scrolled through them without reading until one caught my eye. From Marcus Chen. I'm sorry, I had no idea. The wedding is off. I can't marry into a family that would do that to their own daughter. I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Not my circus anymore, not my monkeys. The last text was from a number I didn't recognize. I almost deleted it too. Then saw the preview. My name is Sarah Chen. I'm Marcus's cousin, the one who asked for your number last night. I know this is probably terrible timing, but I opened it fully. But I wanted you to know that what you did tonight was the bravest thing I've ever seen. If you ever want to talk to someone who understands complicated families, I'm here. Also, your hair looks incredible, like a superhero. A superhero? I laughed, surprising myself with the sound. Maybe that's what we all were, those of us who refuse to stay in the boxes our families built for us. Heroes of our own stories, even if we had to be the villains in theirs. I texted back, coffee tomorrow. Her response was immediate. Absolutely. I know a place where no one will stare at your incredible hair. I set the phone aside and touched the sharp edges of my new cut. Tomorrow, I'd have to figure out what came next. Find a new apartment, maybe. Change my number. Build a life that wasn't defined by being less than Lily. But tonight, I sat with my best friend in the whole world, eating pad thai and existing exactly as I was. No apologies, no diminishing, no rough drafts. Just me. Finally, impossibly, enough. The sun would rise tomorrow on a world where Emily Carter refused to be small, where she'd stood in front of 300 people and told the truth, even though it burned everything down, where she'd chosen herself over their comfort, her truth over their lies. They had cut my hair while I slept, thinking they could cut me down to size. But all they'd done was show me I didn't need that armor anymore. I didn't need to hide behind long hair or small smiles or careful silence. They'd tried to make me less, and instead, I'd become more. More than they could handle. More than they deserved. More than they'd ever understand. Let them keep the hair they'd stolen. Let it remind them that they'd held scissors to their own daughter while she slept, so threatened by her light that they'd tried to extinguish it. Let it haunt them the way their conditional love had haunted me. I was done haunting myself with their expectations, done making myself smaller so they could feel bigger, done being the rough draft in someone else's story. This was my story now. Sharp-edged and asymmetrical, like my hair. Beautiful in its honesty, like the truth I'd finally told. Mine in a way nothing had ever been before. They could cut my hair, but they couldn't cut away the woman I'd become. The woman who refused to apologize for existing. The woman who walked out of that wedding with her head high and her bridges burning behind her. The woman who was finally, gloriously, free